It must have been some kind of barbecue. 24 oxen slaughtered and cooked all at the same time. But what does it mean, and why in the world is it even in the Bible? Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Monday, June 27th, 2022. In yesterday's gospel reading from Luke, Jesus told would-be followers that if they wanted to follow him, there was no time to bury their dead or even to say goodbye to their families. Such was the sense of urgency as he turned his face to Jerusalem. But in today's reading from 1 Kings, the prophet Elijah calls the young man Elisha to follow him, and the conversation that follows is quite different from the one Jesus had with his would-be followers. It says, "So Elijah set out from there and found Elisha, son of Shaphat, who was plowing. There were 12 yoke of oxen ahead of him, and he was with the 12th. Elijah passed by him and threw his mantle over him. Elisha left the oxen and ran after Elijah and said, 'Let me kiss my father and mother, and then I will follow you.' Then Elijah said to him, 'Go back again, for what have I done to you?' He returned from following him, took the yoke of oxen, and slaughtered them. Using the equipment from the oxen, he boiled their flesh and gave it to the people, and they ate. Then he set out and followed Elijah and became his servant." You see the contrast? In the story in Luke, Jesus has such a sense of urgency that anyone who wanted to follow him wouldn't have time to bury their kin or even just go home and say goodbye. But when Elijah calls Elisha, the opposite is true. Elisha asks for time to say goodbye to his family, and Elijah consents. And then, as if to emphasize how long the parting took, the writer includes the detail about Elisha slaughtering his oxen and throwing what amounted to a farewell banquet for his family and friends. What gives here? Actually, the two stories have more in common than you might think. Jesus is in a hurry, but Elijah wants a follower for the long haul. Let me explain. It is clear that Elisha is a farmer, and likely a prosperous one, for he had 12 yoke of oxen at his disposal. A yoke of oxen is a pair joined by a wooden yoke. 12 yoke would have mounted to 24 oxen. That's a lot of cattle, quite an investment. It also likely meant that he had a fair amount of land to plow. All of which is to say, Elisha was probably a wealthy man with a lot to give up in order to follow Elijah. And yet he doesn't hesitate to answer the call. But why the detail about slaughtering and cooking the oxen? There's a scene in the movie The Hunt for Red October, a story about a Soviet submarine captain who defects along with his massive submarine to the United States. In the movie, the captain, a man named Ramius, who informs his officers, all of whom know about the planned defection, that before sailing he has sent a letter to the head of the Soviet Navy of his intention to defect and take the submarine with him. The officers are stunned and demand to know why he had done such a thing. After all, they reasoned, it meant that the entire Soviet Navy would now be hunting them. Ramius's reply, though unsatisfying to his officers, sums up his reasoning. He said, "When Cortez reached the New World, he burned his ships. As a result, his men were well motivated." Elisha slaughters his oxen and throws a massive banquet for the simple reason that he has no more need of them. He doesn't sell them because he doesn't need the money. Like Cortez burning his ships, Elisha cuts off any means of returning to his old life if things don't work out. He is now completely and totally committed to following Elijah. The story of Jesus warning followers that they cannot even so much as say goodbye to their families, and the story of Elisha slaughtering his oxen amount to the same thing. To follow the Master, the follower must be all in. No room for second thoughts. You and I may not have to leave family and friends, and we may not have to slaughter our proverbial oxen, but the call to discipleship requires that we're all in. No going back. It's the way the kingdom has always worked. And now may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.